Hi there everyone, it's Lynnea. I'm back with another video for the Scrapping for Less store, and I'm using this little graduation boy stamp set from Dreamlands Crafts. One of the things that I love about the Scrapping for Less store is that they have a bunch of different brands, and this is a new to me company. I love this little boy with his little graduation cap. He's super cute, and I was so excited that I got to make a card with this. So I started by using a pencil and lightly adding a little line on my card. And this is, I'm thinking of having a little one layer card outdoor scene almost, but just a hill and a sky behind him. So I drew that curved line with my pencil. I positioned the stamp in my MISTI and I erased the pencil line where his shoe would be. I stamped him in some VersaFine Onyx Black ink and coated it with clear embossing powder so that I could do some watercoloring. Normally I use my Staedtler watercolor brushes, the markers rather, but today I decided to just use some pan watercolors. And this is the Sakura Koi Pocket Sketch set. And I'm not doing any mixing or anything. I'm just using the colors strictly from the pan set. The only thing that I mixed is I mixed a pale brown and a pale pink to make the skin tone for him. So the school that I went to, our colors were red and white. So I decided to do a red graduation gown for him. So I painted on some red and it ended up looking too pink. So I added in just a bit of brown to tone down that red. I'm not very good with color theory and color mixing and all that, but I do know that if you mix brown and red, you're going to get like that reddish brown, almost like a rusty color. And even though my graduation color was bright red, I just wanted him to have that rusty color red. So I'm just going to continue on watercoloring here. I'm using a number 2 round watercolor brush. The brand doesn't really matter to me. I have a whole bunch of them, but I find that the number 2 is my go-to size. This Pocket Sketch pack of watercolors here comes with a water brush, but I think it's a 6, and it's just too big for what I like to use. Anywhere that I got my watercoloring outside of the lines, I have this Tombow sand eraser. This has saved many a card in my craft room. I use it all the time. So I wanted to mask off this little graduation boy from my background, but I didn't want to cut a mask. I was too lazy. And so the quickest way for me to do that is to use a Versamarker pen. This is Versamark ink in a marker form. It doesn't smudge my watercolor or my Copics or anything because it's the Versamark ink. It's not water or anything. So I just color all over my image, making sure that I cover every little bit of it with this Versamarker. And then I'm going to sprinkle on some clear embossing powder, and that will cover him up and make him nice and shiny and bright like this. I actually did 2 coats of the embossing powder because I wanted to make sure that none of my ink was going to not seep through, because it won't seep through, but I wanted to make sure that I had good coverage of that embossing powder. I took a piece of Ink-a-Dink-a-Doo masking paper and I drew a curved line on it just like I did on my background, and I'm going to be using both the top and the bottom piece. I'm starting with the top piece so that I can mask off the sky, and I will start doing some ink blending for my grass. So I grabbed some Distress ink. This is my go-to grass color combination. I use Mowed Lawn and Twisted Citron. So I'm starting with Mowed Lawn just at the top of where that hill would be, but I'm doing like a downward stroke, almost like how you would do a flicking motion with Copics, because I want these colors to blend together. So I'm starting on the masking paper and pulling that down so that you get that good gradient of color. Now I'm going to use the bottom piece of masking paper and cover up my grass so that I can make my sky. But I wanted to show you here that my masking paper didn't stick at first. And that's because that Distress ink was still wet. So I dried that with my heat tool, and now it has no problem sticking to that Distress ink. I'm going to be using the Cloud stencil from Pink and Main, and this has different cloudy borders on each side. Again, using Distress inks. I'm going to start with Tumbled Glass, and then also use Salty Ocean. So I'm starting with the dark color again, the Salty Ocean, starting on the stencil and like pulling that off onto the paper like I did with my grass so that you get a good blend and gradient of color. Then I'll turn my stencil, move it down a little bit, and repeat the process, again going with that darker color, the salty ocean first, and blending out with the tumbled glass. You can see that this stencil is well loved. I use it so often because I love the cloudy border that it gives. I love the different shapes of the clouds, and all I do is as I rotate the stencil and move it down, I'll even move it to an angle every now and then, and look at that cloudy background. I just love it. So I always feel the need to add just a little bit of sparkle to my cards. So I grab my Spectrum Noir clear sparkle pen, and I'm going over where the clouds are darkest. And this is my final card. I cut out that background with a stitched rectangle, and that is it. You can find still photos on my blog, and I thank you all for watching. Bye!